Welcome to the Daily Cash Flow with Peter Siegel. My name's George Robson. Today's episode is slightly shorter than usual. It took place after our conversation with Shannon Robnett, which is a great conversation that we're very excited to share with you. But today, Peter and I talk about how to build an abundance mindset, the global housing shortage, contentment versus hunger, and a bunch of other things. Even though this is a shorter episode than usual, it's still packed with a ton of value. So let's get to it.
Stop messing around, stop fooling around, stop delaying, stop procrastinating. Get up, get out, get it done. Everything is possible, nothing is a problem, and anything can be overcome. I just get my ass up out of bed, I get my shit together, and I get out and I start the fight. And that will transform you from a mere mortal into a superhuman being. I've never, ever met anybody who told me that they got rich watching their IRA or their 401k.
It's going to be ongoing. So the global housing crisis continues to be something that's not going away, and we're hearing more and more about it every day in every news source. And it's a big problem, and we need to do something about it. Forever, policymakers and governments were of the mind that, well, we can regulate our way out of a housing problem. We can regulate and price control our way out of a housing crisis. And you really can't. George, you've heard me say it before, you can't name me an example of where price controls and housing regulation has ever worked to stabilize pricing, because there is no example. It's never, ever worked, not anywhere, one time. What we're seeing right now is the cost of housing skyrocketing. It's under the magnified lens. We're in this pandemic environment and people need housing. We're about 9 million housing units short just in this country for the demand that we have. We're 9 million units short. And at our best, we can only build about 1.1 of new housing units per year. So we're never really catching up to match supply with demand. So as long as there's a supply and demand imbalance, housing prices are going to go through the roof. And when you regulate and price control, all you do is restrict supply, and it makes the costs of housing go up even more. And it's crazy. We're reading about it all the time. We're reading about it in California. We're reading about it in New York. We're really reading about it in Berlin. We're reading about it in cities across Europe and other countries. It's amazing. It's always been there, so it's not a shock to me, but it's now a hot topic. And I hope that we can start agreeing as a society that you have to introduce more supply. You have to let them build. In a lot of cases, you have to deregulate and unwind and create more unregulated product to compete with the existing product. And maybe it'll stabilize prices. When supply matches and equals demand, you'll get stabilization of prices. But until then, you're just going to have price increases, and it's going to be a problem.
You were talking with Shannon just before about the abundance mindset. Is that something you've always had personally?
I have, but I didn't know that I had it until the phrase started being used with me. So you can either have an abundance mindset or a scarcity mindset. You can either approach situations in life with abundance or scarcity. My abundance mindset has lots of components to it. So I have an abundance of gratitude. I have an abundance of happiness. I have an abundance of health, wealth, and knowledge. So I'm able to deploy all of those things in my daily situational life. A lot of people approach work and success and money and happiness with a scarcity mindset. Oh, it's not for me, or oh, I'm afraid of it, or oh, I won't take action, I can't afford it. It's not for me, it's not right for me, I don't want it, I'm not going to be good at it, I'm not going to be successful, why try? That's the scarcity mindset. And the abundance mindset will approach problems and say, yeah, I got that, I'll figure it out, and let's move forward. And I've always been that way, but I didn't really have the context of it being in abundance versus scarcity until really recently. Yeah.
I heard somebody recently say, with money, you have to be like a tube where the money comes in, the money goes out. And if you try and clench too tightly at the bottom, that the money eventually dries up, and you have to constantly be deploying those things, like you said.
Well, the messaging we all get to save creates so much stress and tension that we do clench. And when we get money, we clench. We don't think to invest. When we get money, we think save, put it in a bank at 0.1%. And that's what we have to do. I'll need it because there's problems coming up. But we don't think, or they don't message us, to invest. When I get money, I don't want to hold money. It flows into me and it flows out of me. And not because I'm buying stuff, because I'm investing, because I'm deploying whatever money I get into areas of my life or business that need investment. Sometimes it's a new roof on a building. Sometimes it's tools for the maintenance staff. Sometimes it's a work van. Sometimes it's whatever it is, right? But I'm not holding on to money because I'm afraid I'm not going to get any more of it. I'm investing the money because I know I'll get more of it if I invest it.
Are there situations or circumstances where you find yourself holding back a lot, where people are talking about money or talking about income or talking about real estate, and you feel like, oh, I really have this piece of advice that may not be received well, and so I'm going to keep it to myself?
Not anymore, George. I used to, because I didn't know better. I didn't know how to infiltrate in conversations and in my relationships, and but not anymore, and not for a while. But certainly not any longer, and or recently have I ever held back. I am so much of an advocate for that we all have to talk about money more. We have to talk about money, especially with those that have more than us, because that's how you learn. I don't want to talk about success and money and seek advice from someone that just hasn't had my experience or done what I've done. What sense would that make? Not much. I want to seek out those that have done it, that I aspire to be like, that I respect, and I want to seek advice from them. And I think we all need to do so much more of that. You know, our world teaches us a lot, but it doesn't teach us anything about money. George, you'd be surprised how many people don't know basic information about finances and money, like what do the numbers on a check mean? And how does basic consumer banking work? Deposit accounts, checking accounts. Like, it's amazing to me. No one knows. Everyone's got bank accounts, but no one knows like how it all works. It's like this magical place where they put money in a bank account and they sort of forget about it and go about their lives. Oh, it's in the bank. I'm good. It's in the bank. It's in the bank, right? And, you know, to get money out of a bank, to put money in, what do they do with your money when it's there? Do you think that money sits in that branch that you walked into in the vault in the back, like whatever size vault it may be? Do you think that's just where your money's sitting in stacks of bills? Sorry, it's not. Where does your money go? What are they using it for? Now we're getting into a conversation.
It's funny that the first time I even thought about that was It's a Wonderful Life, that Christmas movie, where he talks about the building a loan, how people come, there's a run on the bank, and people are trying to get their money out. And he's like, I don't have your money. Your money is down the street in that person's business, and your money is in that person's business. It's the first time that I even considered, I was like, oh, wait, that the product that I was sold was completely different than what I thought it was.
Yeah. That's a great example. George, people don't know what a routing number is, a bank routing number. If I were to take a poll with our audience right now, I think we'd see clearly that a lot of people just, if they were being honest, they don't know what a routing number is. So it's amazing to me that there's the population that we have, and most of the population has a fear of talking about money, has a fear of having money. I mean, a lot of people just don't have a good relationship with the idea that they could have more money. They think, oh no, that's not for me.
When you don't know something, how do you go about trying to get that information? Because I think a lot of people are embarrassed when they don't know something.
I seek it out quickly and aggressively. If I don't know something and I feel like I need to know it, I just go obtain the knowledge. It's with anything, just with knowledge, information, food, shelter, anything that I need, I go out and get. I find a way, I find out who has it, I go to that source or person, and I get it. I absorb it, I obtain it. And look, anybody who's good at surviving, anybody who's good at solving problems and moving forward and overcoming obstacles is good at that kind of thing. If I don't know something, I find out quickly.
When you were talking about growing up in New York and starting out in Trenton and all these places when you were younger, did you imagine kind of this? Like, is this what you imagined in terms of your business future, or was there something different? How do you kind of navigate that over time?
A lot of it I imagined. A lot of it I saw myself being this way, and so I was able to become this way. And a lot of it is I surprised myself. I always knew that if I stayed the course, that one day I'd get there, wherever there is. No one could outwork me, so that if I was given a challenge or a situation, I'd work my way out of it, no problem. And so I knew that with time and perseverance that things would come to me. I just knew that. I believed that. I believed that those who get off their asses and get up and who aren't lazy and can get out there and get shit done will make things happen. And those who spend their time, there's only 24 hours in a day, so when you spend a lot of those 24 hours doing other things, then you'll have other things, you just won't have success. You won't have financial wherewithal. Like you'll have other things. You'll have a lot of fun maybe if you just hang out with friends and party. And you'll have different types of experiences if you just go do different things. But the experiences I wanted were ones that led me to where I am now, which is what we're here talking about all the time. I'm thinking differently and bigger now than I've ever thought before. I think with a little bit of experience and seasoning like I've had in my life, that I'm now at the point where I'm able to let go of some of the historical notions and ideas and goals and maybe create some new ones. And I'm creating new ones all the time, and I'm going for them. And they're bigger, and they're bigger. I won't say they're better, but they're bigger. And, as our world expands and as the situations around us develop, I believe our goals and objectives need to expand and develop as well. So I'm thinking about things now today that I haven't thought about before. The amount of money I think is necessary, that I'm shooting for, that I want to make, the type of life I want for my children and one day grandchildren. All of that's sort of shifting. Where I see the world going and my place in the world. I believe that as automation and technology proliferates, I believe that as space and the universe sort of comes together with Earth, as crazy as that concept sounds, I think all of that's going to be driving our future, and I want to be part of the future. I don't want to be left behind. So I'm finding ways to think about those concepts and to find a pathway into existing within that world.
How do you walk that line between, you've said before how contentment is your default state, but also that you're hungry as fuck? How do you walk that line of which impulse to chase?
I don't know, man. It's like I want to be hungry. I don't want to be hungry and unhappy. Right. I don't want to be hungry and a jerk. I don't want to be hungry and angry. So I'm hungry and I'm happy because I realize that no matter what I have or what I've accomplished, that I'm lucky for having done so. And things can always be worse. I don't like to spend my time dwelling on the past. I'd rather solve a problem and focus on the future. This all sounds so like, mumbo jumbo, I think sometimes, but I got to tell you, George, it's so true. People that live in the past can't move forward into the future. People that dwell on what someone did to them or said to them or what happened to them a day ago, a year ago, 10 years ago, they're stuck there. They can't move forward and do these new great things that they thought one day they could be able to do. They just can't. So you got to be able to know where you stand with your past, your present, and your future. You have to have a relationship with those time frames. And if you don't, you're just not going to be able to move anywhere. George, things can always be worse, so be happy for where you are and what you have and find a way to move forward. Things can always be worse. Thank God they're not.
Something that's surprising to me is how well a pretty small team is able to really run a huge business. And like that's crazy, the efficiency that you have.
I appreciate that you said that, because we've worked hard to create a culture where that's allowable and encouraged. We've worked hard to choose the right people and develop them and empower them. So that's a really important component of where I am today, is having the right people in place that can do all of these things, and efficiencies and technologies, and working both hard and smart. The people that I try to surround myself with aren't linear thinkers. They're able to think in a lot of different directions at the same time. I think a stereotype of historical corporate America is this person in a cubicle that just, sort of ticking off a few tasks in their day. They go to lunch, they come back, and it's very linear. I have my 11 o'clock appointment. I got my 11:30 thing. I got to get this done by 5 o'clock. And the world has changed. It's not really like that anymore. The demands of our society are such that we have to be thinking and executing in multiple dimensions and multiple different directions all the time. The people around me do that, and it's enabling me to do, I think, pretty cool things, and they do pretty cool things.